We all know that the heavier you are, the harder you'll find hills. And previously we did a video where we looked at the effect of adding 1 kilogram of additional mass on an epic climb. But how much difference does added weight make on flatter terrain? How much difference does, say, 20 kilograms make? Well, with the help of a pro cyclist, we're going to investigate. The reason why we're looking at the difference of 20 kilograms is because that's the typical difference in weight between a non-cyclist sat on the sofa and the average Tour de France rider. But also here at GCN, we often get incredibly inspirational messages from viewers who've taken up cycling and tell us about how they've lost huge amounts of weight through getting fitter and healthier. And well, we often see similar amounts of weight being lost, which is incredible. So this is also for you guys. Our pro for this test is Rory Townsend, who rides for the UCI Continental team with Sun God. He's an absolute beast with a threshold power of around 400 watts and a peak power of about 1500 watts. He's incredibly strong at riding on flat terrain. There are several things that we want to look at here, but the first is acceleration, because according to physics, this is where added mass is going to have the biggest impact. Think if you're setting off from traffic lights, or if you're accelerating hard out of a corner in a race, or even attacking. And so what we're going to do is get Rory, our pro test rider, to accelerate from a standing start all the way up to 50 kilometers per hour. He's going to do this firstly as he is, and then he's going to do it with a 20 kilogram weighted vest. We're going to measure how long it takes him to get to 50 kilometers an hour in both instances, and also the amount of power it requires. Rory, are you ready?
I'm ready, mate.
Yeah, cool. What's your peak power, by the way, roughly?
Somewhere between 15 and 1600 watts, I think, on a good day.
Okay, right, you ready? Beep, 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 beep. And he's off. How was that?
Yeah, it was alright.
Got the vest for you.
Oh God. Crikey.
Right, we took the straps in a bit because we want the aerodynamic penalty of the vest to be as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
Because it will be a slight aerodynamic penalty. Only slight though.
It's like the difference between off-season and on-season.
Right, I'll give you some beeps. Beep, 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 beep. He's off. So I've had a look at the results from the data that we've got off the Wahoo head unit, and we can see that it took you about 50 meters more to get up to 50 kilometers an hour, and well, it took you about 6 seconds longer as well. Yeah. Power's like comparable, it's roughly the same. I mean, fair one, like you're doing sort of 1300 watts, like, it's mad.
Yeah, I definitely felt it on the second one, like the sprint seemed to go so much longer.
Yeah.
And yeah, so by the end of it, I was like, I've really made an effort there.
So Rory, you're someone who races criteriums and circuit races at like the highest level. How's that weight gonna impact your performance in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to be competitive with something like that, you know. Firstly, just the added sort of effort that I had to put into that second one. You know, I wouldn't even go to the finish with any liquid in my bottles, let alone an extra 20 kilos.
So over the course of a race, like having to put that extra power in for that extra few seconds in every corner, that adds up to a lot of like neuromuscular stress, doesn't it? Because that's
yeah. You can get away with it in certain races. You know, you don't always have to go like do a max sprint out of every corner, but I just have to do that just to keep up wearing this. So.
Right. Well, I think we need to go on to the next test, which is our steady state effort test. As mentioned, our next test is the rolling test, looking at a steady state effort. And to do this, Rory's going to ride along a 3.5 kilometre sector that we've marked from a rolling start, and then just see how long it takes him and how much power is required. He's going to try and hold what is a sort of typical race pace for him, so around 40 kilometres an hour, firstly without the vest and then with it. According to physics and Newton's second law of motion, this should be easier than the acceleration test, because once you're up to speed, that added sort of inertia he has, it shouldn't hold him back as much. But let's see what happens once we try and do this in real life and see what the power difference is. And the road that we're testing this on, it isn't perfectly flat, but in real life, no road is perfectly flat. It is, however, representative of, real life conditions and what you're likely to come across.
Fairly rolling road, so it'll be quite interesting on the little rises that we have on the road here, see how much difference it feels with the vest on. So I want to try and hold a similar kind of aerodynamic tuck with the vest on, just like it would be in a race. I'm glad this is just a rolling road and not a really hilly one, because I think I'd definitely be feeling it then. I averaged about 317 watts on the last lap to do just over 40k an hour. I really feel the legs burning on these rises like this one here, up to the finish. It was actually significantly different.
Rory's completed his runs, fair one. How did that feel?
Yeah, the second one, I mean, you might expect it was going to be harder, but I guess I was almost surprised how much harder it was.
Right. So it was, the time-wise, spot on. Like 4:31 on your first run without the weight, 4:32 with the weight. So average speed's at 41.8 kilometres an hour. Ridiculous. Okay, that's pretty good. But what was the power difference between those two runs?
So on the first run, I did 317.
Right.
Felt pretty comfortable, and then on the second one, it was 369 watts.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's a lot more.
Yeah, I think 52 watt difference. So
that's a lot more than what I expected.
Yeah.
I mean, some of that is going to be, in fairness and stuff, some of that is going to be a slight, at the speed you're going, a slight aerodynamic penalty, because that is going to be a slight aero penalty at 40k an hour, but not the full. It's definitely not the full 50 odd watts. No,
and I was stayed in the same position throughout both runs as well to try and,
How did it feel like it was slowing you down?
Well, obviously there's a significant difference on any little rise, and it's not just the fact that you have to go harder on the rise. It's almost like you're not getting the advantage of the speed you carry into it as well. So that was kind of the significant thing I noticed as such.
Because that road, it's flat. It is a flat road, but it is ever slightly rolling. But that's realistic as what most roads are like, I guess. And it's interesting that when you've got 20 kilos, even on the very slight rise, that you're really noticing that.
Yeah. I kind of thought at the speed that I was traveling at, that I'd have this sort of inertia just to carry me up, but it didn't really help me out. All right, mate. Well, thanks for that. I got to go because I've actually got a race to get to. So.
All right. Cool. Thanks, mate. See ya. Good luck. Oh. Okay. Those results are pretty interesting, and it counts for a lot more than what I thought, especially on the flat, as Rory said. And previously we teamed up with Swiss Side, who investigated the effect of changing bits of your bike, so putting on deeper wheels or an aero frame, and modelling that in a criterium where you've got those accelerations constantly out of corners and attacking. And the results were quite surprising, but it was that the added mass was actually not a huge disadvantage. Of course, it's much less. You're talking around a couple of 100 grams for an aero frame and a couple of 100 grams for deeper wheels over shallower ones. And the result was that despite the added mass, there was actually a net gain in your sort of average speed. And this is because when you're adding mass in that sense, you're not adding a huge amount of mass, but you're also adding functional mass in that it's making you more aerodynamic. So you're getting something for it. And the other key thing to remember is, although you do have these repeated accelerations in, say, a criterium, they're a relatively tiny amount of the overall race. And with a small amount of additional mass, that is a bit more effort for you every time you accelerate, but it's much less additional effort, far less than what we saw with Rory with the 20 kilograms added to him, which is a significant amount. The other big take-home message here is, although 20 kilograms is a lot, 1 kilogram might seem like a lot to some people. It's typically an amount of weight that some cyclists stress about from day to day if they weigh themselves or they weigh their equipment. But 1 kilogram really isn't as much as what you think. That's a big take-home message from this video, because typically speaking, 5 watts is worth more, way more, than a kilogram. So investing that kilogram in more aero equipment or just being a bit stronger on the bike, it's a far better thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for Rory for his time as well and wearing that weighted vest. And if you've got any questions or if you've enjoyed it, just let us know in the comments. I'm going to go now. Bye.